Hey, brothers and sisters, what's up? This is the Reluctant Nabi back again. And we are going to prove that there is no such thing as an alpha females or alpha females who single or in charge of a home alone. I ain't saying that. I'm doing a video. Uh-huh. Oh. So the concept of this, yeah, you can say the go ahead, sit down. The concept of this alpha stuff come from wolves, and so what happens is in the animal kingdom, the alpha male usually link up with the alpha female. What makes the female alpha, we'll discuss in a minute. But what there isn't is a single alpha female. Yeah, those are wolves. There's no such thing as a single alpha female in the wolf kingdom, in the animal kingdom. And when we try to convey what you see in the animal kingdom, when it comes to alpha, no, this is the people kingdom now. When it comes to alpha, this is more likely what it would look like in the human being kingdom. All right? And so a lot of that is missed because we are getting our narrative from females who decided to steal the talking points of the men. This is why I kept saying to you, do not let these females into your groups. This is why you don't let them into your groups. You don't let them into your groups because they're coming to steal stuff and then warp and exchange it just like Satan would do. All right? And so you got to be careful of that. All right? So let me greet everybody real quick. Hovorten hardugu dog, olo oi to the vein, vasis los. Bonjour mes amis. Kedu bawani konnichiwa. Ni hao ni ama. Sani bonani. Jambo habarigani. Assalamu alaikum shalom. Kamusta ka. Kamusta po kayo. Talafa lava soy fua. All right? So this is what real alpha should look like in the human kingdom. Not to be mistaken for the picture you see up in the corner where the BW wants the Afro man to put all the weight of the world on his shoulders to cover her. And when it gets down to it, that's probably not even his children. All right. And basically, so an alpha female is loyal to the alpha male in the animal kingdom. Until you get that same kind of loyalty in the human being kingdom, you can't call these BWs alpha at all because they are not expressing the rule of alpha. So let me get into that a little deeper. Okay, so this is what the BW thinks the alpha female is. Okay, the kind of woman that make other women want to be her, and weak men cower in awe. Except there's no such thing. See, an alpha female would not be with a weak man, but if you notice that most BWs pick weak men or men coming out of prison for a reason. See, the men coming out of prison are weaker when it comes to their access and the BW's access. One, they're in a weakened state because they usually have to live with the BW. Two, they're in a weakened state because of their record that if the BW called 911 and put up false charges, they are likely to go under for it than a man that know how to leave this woman alone. Oh, that's three. And they can't really leave her alone, usually coming out of the pen, because many come out on parole. Okay? And so they got them. All right? And so we should not allow these people, like this Deborah Cooper, dating expert and advice columnist, we should not allow these women to determine anything in the Afro community. Because as we get to in a minute, all they brought forth is destruction. Now, let me take the time to remind you, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And when you subscribe, click the notification bell. All right. And then on top of that, my Cash App and PayPal me will be in the description box if you would like to help me in what I do for the community. All right. All right. So let's get further into all that is going on. Okay. So this is the real alpha family right here. This is the real alpha family. What these women are trying to tell you about how alpha they are, they're not. This is the real alpha family. One that is led by a man. Anything led by a female is not alpha. And so this is the product of the female-led alpha family right here. This is what it has done to the children. All right? And I want y'all to understand this. That when we get to child fatalities and child abuse and neglect, the woman alone is responsible for 70.6% of those. And this is the mother but being involved, but not the biological father. When we get to deaths, all right, when we get to deaths, all right, the BW is responsible for 70.8%. That's the alpha female. And this is when she is alone. It is the most, a child statistically in a home alone. Now, we all know some homes where the women have been outstanding, safe, and loving. But in most cases, in the vast majority, into the 70s and 80% of homes, especially when you talk about the homes that the men come from, they will tell you that it has been the most violent, is where they've been called the most names, is where they have, it was an attempt to strip them of their manhood. All this is in those homes. See, the females have a different experience, but the children, as we're children, we have it the worst. And if you look down to your left, you will see that the mother tops it, whether she's by herself or Pookie and Ray Ray in them. All right? In concert with someone not the child or not the parent. And this is what you have. This is what the real so-called wannabe alpha by herself. That's what the real alpha female does to the family, community, and as I said before, they do not repent. They've been treasonous, and they owe us an apology. But they don't owe us anything. We need to leave them alone, and this is why we need to leave them alone. All right. See, they don't understand that the single BW cannot be alpha. They are just lost thinking they're alpha. You can't be alpha alone. Even the male in the wolf kingdom is not alpha alone. If you are a BW raising a family by yourself, you're not an alpha female. I don't care how much work you think you've done. You're not an alpha female until you link up with an alpha male. And if the alpha male, if that male you linking up with is not capable of being in charge of the family, or you don't want him to be in charge of the family, then you're still not an alpha female, and that's still not an alpha male. An alpha male is somebody that will find a woman whereby he can be in charge of the family and set the standards for how the family is going to live. This is the best survival way for children. The female alone is not good on the children, the community, or anything. All right? So they're not alpha, they're just lost. And they don't seem to understand that because they think by trying to become a man and fight the Afro man for his position, they think that makes them something. When all in all that made them was just the best tool that the supremacy and racist and all the other names we want to throw out there could use for the destruction of the family. And they didn't have to lift a hand. She did that all by herself. Think about that. All by herself. All right. The racist, the Caucasian, and all the rest of that didn't have to do a thing. She did the destruction all by herself. And I didn't even put in the upwards to 60 million of us destroyed by this alpha so-called female since 1973 through abortion. All right. You're not alpha as a female if you're alone. Just like that, a male wolf that goes it alone is not called an alpha. He is called a lone wolf. And he might be strong, but he's alone. He don't want to deal with the pack. He don't want to deal with the females in the pack. Now, when he decides to go into the pack and he fights the male and he becomes the leader of the pack, and he gets a female wolf, then he becomes the alpha male, and the female becomes the alpha female. That's the only way women can become alpha, is when you link up with a man that wants to be alpha male and raise a family. Oh, we got another word for this. Yeah, we call it a family. We call it a union. Modern day word, a marriage. And not by the confines of what Caucasians consider marriage. You are married based on our customs or the customs of that alpha male, by the standards of that alpha male. If you get a license, then neither of you belong to the relationship. You both belong to the state. The females have been deceiving themselves for a while. All right? And they put themselves out thinking that they are going to get some man, mainly out of prison, to come knock them up so they can hit them up for child support. Well, that's not alpha. That's another word we call you, and it's a garden tool to farmers. All right? Violent, vitriolic, mean, abusive. No, these are not the traits of an alpha female. Because with the main thing that people forgot is that the alpha female in the animal kingdom is submissive to the alpha male. Period. And anything outside of that family grouping is going to submit to both the alpha male and the alpha female. But if you didn't make a family with an alpha man, then you ain't pretty much nothing. just a lone wolf, or in this case, a garden tool with a bunch of cubs. This is why brothers are leaving, and this is why we are starting to understand that no, we decide how the relationship goes and how we get into it. Oh, and by the way, to you simps, this is still a no depolicing zone. P.S. I wanted to mention this real quick. There was an article that used this picture right here, and if you look at the upper right, you will see that they edited the man out of the picture. They actually cut the man out of the picture. An article talking about the Afro family cuts the man out of the picture. Think about that for a second. And they tried hard to cut the man out of the picture because all that you see in the picture is his shoulder. This is the society that the BW want. No matter how well the Afro man is doing, and no matter how strong he is, even though even though the Caucasian can't tear the man down, she'll do it for the Caucasian, tear the Afro man down and get him out of the culture. Why? Because she don't have the foresight to see that when she eliminates us, she eliminates herself also. With that said, I'm out again.